Well, thanks everyone for coming. Today we are going to talk about CARES Act funding. If you watched Tuesday's meeting of the City Council or followed me on social media, you will know that we allocated up to, I think, $1 million of CARES Act money going into our social service programs that are going to help Wichitans, particularly during this particular hard time. We have $75,000 going into domestic violence services, $200,000 going into homeless prevention services, $250,000, which is going to a new internship program. We're partnering with the Masters of Social Work program over at Newman University to utilize their interns for homeless outreach so that we can not only get the social science benefit of the students helping us, but they can also get the benefit of having hands-on experience integrated with their academics. We're also working to find out more about the impact of the pandemic on local landlords. So we have a survey that we are looking for landlords to take so that we can have a better understanding of the conditions they're facing as renters might have issues getting rent in on time, and seeing if we can utilize some programs or some CARES Act resources from that data to better help out those in our community. So here to tell us more is our housing director, Sally Stang, who's one of my favorite people here because she has just done such a good job of figuring out different ways that we can utilize our resources to get the most impact for our community. So here's Sally to give us an overview.
Thank you so much, Mayor Whipple, and thank you for having me here today. It gives me great joy to be able to talk about many of the programs that we've initiated in the last several months in response to COVID-19. Yesterday's council meeting was my 7th appearance before the council, allocating funds to our community. We've done things such as motel vouchers for homeless that test positive or are awaiting test results. We've provided food boxes to elderly low-income residents in our community. We are providing internet access to low-income families with children who are struggling with remote learning. We continue to evaluate the need in our community and try and launch these programs in our community to have the biggest impact. So part of that, and actually the funding is coming to us directly from the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Department of Health and Human Services. So we have several different pools of funds. They come through particular grants: CDBG, ESG, CSBG, HCV, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? We are the epitome of acronyms in our world, but we're trying to provide the funding in our community so that we can fill these critical needs. And so the mayor spoke a little bit about the survey that we've launched. It is a landlord impact survey, and we are trying to evaluate where the greatest need is in our community, where people are having a hard time paying their rent due to COVID-19, and under the eviction moratorium, where landlords are really hurting because they have been unable to collect the rent. So the survey takes only about 5 minutes. We ask that landlords complete a separate survey for each property that they own. We're going to use those results to kind of heat map across the community where we're seeing the most need. We're going to cross-reference that with unemployment numbers that we're getting from the local workforce development board, and then be able to reach out through landlords to provide additional rent assistance funding in the community. So this is really going to help us go moving forward, identify where that greatest need is. And so that is very, very important that landlords take the 5 minutes, complete the survey, because we may be reaching out behind that survey to say, okay, help us get in touch with your residents in need so that we can get those resources to them. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Oh, great. Turn it back over to you, sir.
Well done. Well, thank you, Sally. We appreciate not only all the work that Sally does, but also the work that the good people over in our housing department do, particularly with the efforts to combat homelessness. So if you're a landlord, please do take the 5 minutes to take the study. We want to make good policy decisions based off feedback and data, and this helps us do that. Next, we're going to talk about our aquatics plan. So sadly, we all know with the COVID pandemic, our community lost out on a variety of fun opportunities, including the chance to enjoy our pools this year. Last October, we approved the funding and design for phase 1 of the new Aquatics Master Plan. And in June, we approved the funding for phase 2 of the new Aquatics Master Plan. So next Tuesday, actually, will it be next Tuesday or did that change? Moved to the 20th. So on the 20th, good catch, or else I won't get in trouble from the media. So on the 20th, we are going to review the design phase for phase 2 of the aquatics plan. So this will be the rehabilitation of the pools at Minisa and Harvest Parks. We will also convert the Linwood Park pool into a water playground. The aesthetic design is meant to enhance the experience of the users at these facilities. So here to talk a little more about this is Brian Hill with the Park and Rec Department. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor Whipple. Pull up the PowerPoint here. We're very excited to be in the phase 2 of the Aquatics Master Plan. I'm going to do have a brief overview of the locations, some of the exciting things that we're doing, and then talk about the aesthetics, how it kind of enhances the experience, and how it's really going to make our pools and splash pad just even that much more great for the citizens of Wichita. As mentioned, we were talking about these 3 locations. The Linwood location there in the south is going to be a pool that is being converted to a water playground. And then Harvest Pool and Minisa Pool are pools that are just going to be renovated and kind of rehabilitated, make it look nicer than what they currently are. We'll start with the splash pad. This is kind of an overview of the Linwood Splash Pad. It's going to have this kind of fun theme of kind of a lost, forgotten world where nature has kind of come and reclaimed a lot of the area. There's going to be some lost and found things like a water wheel that used to be in service at some point, which is very similar to the things that were found in the around hydraulic in Wichita back in the past. So we're kind of trying to reach back to in some of the history of Wichita to highlight some of the fun things. One of the things that people really have enjoyed about some of these designs is a stretching out of more turf area, more fun areas to like lounge about, to sit, to talk, and to enjoy the water. So it's not all just about the water in this playground here, or the splash pad there. It's also about just the experience of being there, going up with the family, picnicking, enjoying your time. Like I said, mentioned with the aesthetics, we're kind of calling back to the things in the past with the water wheel that's kind of been lost and abandoned. It's going to be static and standard, but people can be able to walk under it. There'll be fountains that'll splash water on you. There's plenty of seating areas around the area, so parents can watch their kids and enjoy while they're staying out of the heat. Really excited for innovation at this location. We have these kind of mossy stones. One of the first places to do this will be here in Wichita. They're nice kind of sponge materials, and they'll be covered with turf, and they'll have little bits of jets that will have kind of a mister that'll come out of them. So kids can kind of play on them and crawl on them and kind of tumble on them. They're nice, they're fun, they're safe. We're real excited to see how this works out. And it's going to be a great addition to this location. Here is Harvest Pool and kind of a general overview of the site. One of the big things we really try to do with our pool sites was to pull our fencing away from the pool, add more space for people to relax on deck. Right now, all of our fences were like basically right up 5 feet away from the pool deck, or from the pool basin. So this gives the opportunity for people to really stretch out and enjoy the whole area. Some of the highlights and amenities that have been added here is we're replacing the slide with a newer slide, a lot more shade structures for people to stay out of the sun. We have a fun taller slide that's going in, and as you said, like a nice little shade structure that's going to have seating for people. Harvest has such a great swim team there with a lot of kids, so we're keeping the structure of the 5 lanes there so we can keep our swim team program and our swim lesson program strong. But we've added this zero depth entry area off to the side, easier access to the water. It'll be a fun place for toddlers and younger kids can play and splash around and people can stay cool. A lot of the aesthetics and inspiration for the art here was to kind of take the word harvest and how that fits in with the life cycle. There'll be some wheat located here. We're also talking about the life cycle of like the waterfowl and other amphibians. One thing that I think the artist did an incredible job of is addressing, we have an older pump house that still stores a lot of our stuff there, and it's not being replaced at this time, but we're going to make it pretty, make it look like it belongs there in the design, adding something with cicadas, just showing the life cycle as they go through the different things, the frogs from the tadpole, I'm really excited for the idea of the harvest being part of the art that enhances this location. Here's an overview of the Minisa pool. Once again, the fencing has been stretched out away from the pool basin to allow more access for people to lounge and to enjoy. Some of its highlights are, once again, shade structure, shade structure, shade structures. We love to keep people out of the sun as much as we can. It's got a nice, fun little rental area up there to the north part. We've added a drop slide. Here we also had the zero-depth entry area. It's taking up a little bit of the lane area, so we're gonna have more of a kind of a splash pad area is part of the pool in this location. We kept a nice little area of the pool. We have a great group of teens that like to come here and hang out a lot, so we make sure we kept the area for them where they can socialize and have fun. A lot of the art elements of this one kind of take back to the history. There's some great wood fascia along the bathhouse that harkens to some of our heritage here in Wichita. And you'll see a structure on this next slide I'll show you here in a moment that actually was a structure that was built on Mead Island was located not too far from the Minisa site. It was a grass lodge that was built by the Wichita people and gifted to the city of Wichita. And so we took the inspiration from that, and the artists have created a wonderful little shade structure area that people can go and get out of the sun and hang out with, but also has a little history aspect of it that talks about, some of Wichita's past. So we're real excited to see that was incorporated into this project. So that's just a quick overview of the phase 2. I'll see if anybody has any questions on any of this stuff. Great. We're excited to see it moving. Oh yeah, please.
When is all of this supposed to start taking place?
One of the benefits of not having the pools open this summer was we were able to accelerate our timetable on the completion. And so we're actually moving now to try to get this done. So we'll be open for 2021 for all these locations. Yeah, phase 2 was going to be a year away. We're, like I said, with the COVID and having to have the pool shut down, we've been able to accelerate our timetable and try to get these done for 2021.
Are you able to work on all of them at the same time?
We are.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about the renovations we're doing to our aquatics plan. As a dad of 3 kids, I know that, we got moms here. I know that that's going to be huge next year for our citizens to have a chance to actually go to these facilities that are free of charge. Or I believe some of the pools actually cost a little bit of money, but that are available to everyone. And as was mentioned, the silver lining, if there is one, when it comes to COVID and having the type of summer we had where we couldn't open up our aquatics, we couldn't open up our pools for safety reasons and also for budget reasons, was hitting the fast forward button on the progress into the different phases of these pools. So we are hoping that in 2021, we're hoping 2021 will be one of our best years, since 2020 was one of the worst years, I think, for most folks. So let's go ahead and set up 2021 to be one of the best years for Wichita. One of the ways we're going to do that is ensure that when our aquatics plan and facilities open back up, they are going to be at a level that they haven't been in the past. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So with that, I'll take questions. Pretty much about anything. Go ahead, don't make me go back to my office. All right. Cool. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. And we can wrap up and get to... Oh, Andrew, hey.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you going to talk a little bit about allocating some money for the Wichita Transit for bus benches and shelters? And when are we going to see that money coming into the Wichita Transit?
We can do an update on the Wichita Transit next week, if that's all right.
To work with the Wichita Transit folks on.
That'd be really good. We've had, over the summer and really into the fall, we've been able to allocate particularly COVID money to our transit center for discounted passes and even a free day going back and forth to all of our routes, actually. Moving forward, though, we have to, in our transit program, and it'd be good to give a full update on this, has been really amazing. We, at the very onset of the pandemic, went and sanitized our buses. I think it was like 3 times more than they did in New York. Like, we got ahead of social distancing measures to make sure that our transit was not only affordable and safe, not affordable, but also safe. We actually took the data from usage of when people used it to make our free days correlate with the lower usage days, so that we had less people in one space at a time to try to keep people safe. So, and we have a very forward-thinking director in Mr. Tan when it comes to our public transit system. So I'd love to give an update on that. Next week we can probably get that going. So thanks, Andrew. We'll look into that, and if you want to shoot me an email on some of the stuff you want us to hit on for next week, then that would be good.
Mayor, I also have another question.
Sure.
The other question is, when are we gonna see, the Wichita businesses, coming, opening back up and getting back in the swing of things?
You guys should be hiring Andrew, by the way. He has some pretty good questions. To be honest, the Wichita small business community, one of the things we're focusing on right now is there's different phases of our economic growth plan. We just did a complete overhaul of our economic incentive program to target small businesses, to ensure that when more investment and when small businesses are pretty much back up on their feet, we'll have the ability to incentivize them like you do the big businesses. More importantly, though, for this moment, is getting people through this crisis. And one of the ways that we're doing that, or I'm doing that as mayor, is with our Small Business Advisory Council. Bringing folks together every 3 months. I get to reappoint people to these positions, and every 3 months it seems like we have a new wave of small business sectors that are most impacted by COVID. And so what we're trying to do is, for the very first one, it was the cosmetology industry, who really came up with an incredible plan to ensure that they could deliver their services safely. This round, of appointments and the meetings we've been having have been with members of the service industry and also the gym industry. And one of the things that we've been able to do is bring in experts from different areas to come in and pass along information to these communities and have them pass the information through. So last week, for example, we had someone who works with, and all these meetings, by the way, are completely open online to anyone. Last week, we had someone who works with commercial real estate to give advice to our small businesses on negotiating rent right now. One of the problems with small businesses in this pandemic is they might have less lending power, and when you have to write that check each month for rent, that's when small businesses decide if they got to stay open or not. So what's some key tips when it comes to trying to negotiate that rent during this down economy? So really good question. I'm getting a signal that I'm talking too long about this. But really good question, and I'll make sure that we can do everything we can to keep our small businesses open and going, because that's what makes Wichita great. Other questions?
We've got one more question about Linwood.
Yeah, I had a question. When did you all decide that you were going to change out Linwood's plan and it become a splash?
Sure, I think it was before me.
For some reason, you might have missed that.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that.
that was through the adoption of the Aquatics Master Plan that was adopted 2 years ago. It was a real labor of love. It was a lot of work, a lot of tough decisions were made. We actually started on the process back in 2012. Held probably over 300 meetings with the neighborhoods and the public on the different locations, and it became a strategic decision of where the pools were located, how they were doing, what kind of shape they were in. So for Linwood in particular, we had a lot of structural issues, unfortunately, that were going to need to be addressed if it was going to remain a pool. That was going to take quite a bit more money out of the budget that would have taken away from the other locations. So.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, really appreciate everyone. I'm pretty easy to get to. If you have any questions moving forward, just let me know. I'd love to be available. Thank you all.